welcome back. I'm Michael Sandler, your host on Inspire Nation, along with
CJ Lou from the Fire It Up with CJ show.
Woohoo!
Woo!
If you've ever wanted great change and powerful possibilities, then do we have the changes show for you. Today we'll talk about taking the leap, stepping off the cliff, swimming in a blender, and diving into the great unknown and the greatest you. That plus we'll talk about angry fans, scary tunes, working
Oh
on Christmas
no.
Day, organic bistros and magical parking spots, flowing to Aspen Chapel, Christmas carols and front row seats, inefficient communication systems, a cross-country skiing switch, feeling completely into the flow, even through scariness and chaos, the value of coffee shops, bird ornament, boomerangs, leaps and rebounds, chchchchange, I think we covered that, yellow headphones, shiny microphones, and what in the world an air fryer going home has to do with anything. So welcome to the last show of the decade, CJ. Ready
Wow.
to shine.
I am ready to shine.
I feel like I'm
Woo!
introducing a boxing match.
Okay.
Here.
All right. This is the one I pulled out. I think I need something at this point.
So
Michael,
she's
you're on
spraying herself with
speed.
an essence.
I'm spraying myself with Chakra 4 Pine, Rosewood, and Neroli. So love to you. Here I'm spraying over. Excuse me.
Good blessing sneeze from catching that spray up the nose.
Woo! Okay, Michael, my gosh. I had like one thing on the list. You have like 20, so we got to get started.
All right.
Okay, where do we start? Let's start on working on. No, let's start on. Oh, it's so exciting. I feel like I have all these presents. Bird ornament boomerangs.
All right, that's the short and sweet one, which is we went yesterday. Yes, yesterday. We had done something, cross-country skiing, which is a whole nother adventure, and we had come back to Whole Foods because on the way home, Jessica was reading me about a new restaurant that had all of these dishes that had avocado and guacamole. And I'm like, we don't have any guac left in the house, do we? So we had to stop by Whole Foods and we parked in front of the Christmas ornament shop, where last year on the day after Christmas, we ended up raiding the kitty for all of these birds, which are now on our bird Christmas tree.
Oh,
And
sweet.
so I said, well, I said, we probably should just go into Whole Foods. I'm like, unless you want to see if there are any other birds. And I'm like, it was a year ago today. And Jessica's like, "Phew, gone." I'm like, bye. Meet me in Whole Foods. And she came into Whole Foods and she had this little ornament bird kind of hanging by its feet on her finger, kind of like holding on.
Oh.
And she told me there'd been another bird there, but she was pretty sure we had that one at home. And it turns out we didn't. And so we
Oh.
get to go after this. It's starting to snow heavily, which will be the perfect timing for us to go and rescue the last bird in the store for our bird Christmas tree.
Wow, I want to see. Will you take a picture and put it on your
Yeah,
Instagram?
do that.
I would like to
So,
see your bird Christmas tree.
and it has a beautiful owl on top, which
Sweet. Oh, sweet. An owl on the top of your Christmas tree is an owl.
wisdom, being able to see into the unknown, being able to see from this world into the other world. And whenever
Oh,
the owl makes an appearance, it's a special significance of where you are and that connection between you and the spirit world.
oh, that's nice because I just got an owl, some owl Christmas theme things because that's one of my spirit animals. So that's exciting. And during every Christmas, we have a tradition to make ornaments, salt dough ornaments. So if you look at our tree, they're salt dough ornaments that are all the way from like this misshapen red thing that's yellow from when the kids were like really young, like 2 years old to now. So our whole tree is filled with Christmas ornaments. It's so sweet.
Yay!
And when they came home, I'm like, Christmas ornaments? And I got this kind of like, oh, mom. But you know what? I think people are like, it's tradition. It's part of our tradition. So I made the salt dough. I made my little Camino like arrow for like you kind of what we do is we try to put stuff that reminds us of where we've been. So my son, who's in Edinburgh, had an Edinburgh flag, and so we have our
Cool.
oh yeah. So that was that's our ornaments, and our tree is just it's we actually have too many ornaments to put on the tree because we've done this every year, and now the kids are 21, so we have like probably 80 ornaments that we have, some of which have broken off and I'm now finding places for. And then I was walking back from Whole Foods and there's this homeless woman that I'm friends with, and Catherine, and she said, "Hey, do you want a tree?" And I said, "What?" And I see this big sign next to Whole Foods, free trees. This is on Christmas Eve. And she said, "Please take a tree. If you take a tree, I can, the Whole Foods said that they will feed my whole family." And I was like, well, by goodness, like I'm taking a tree. So,
Throw the tree in the trunk.
so we have a tree in our house, and I took the ornaments that we had just made, and we barely have room for on our tree, and I put in I had like a little live tabletop trees, which I had never seen before.
Yeah.
But yes, anyways, that's our
Very
Christmas.
cool. You just inspired me. I found it in the garage about a month ago when I was doing this full changeover of the house for Jessica when she was out. We have a frog menorah for Hanukkah, and
Yeah.
I wasn't motivated to dig through the garage, but now you've inspired me because it's been with us through the years of
Yeah.
it's 9 little frogs. You put a candle in each one for each
Oh,
day.
sweet. But
So I'm
Hanukkah's
gonna
already
find a
happened, right?
no, it's 8 days. We're on day as we're recording this, we're on day 5. So I've got
Oh.
multiple days left to light the candles. We went to the Christmas tree lightings in town, where our dear friend the mayor turned on the lights. We went to the menorah lighting festival in town, where our dear friend the mayor was there
Rabbi.
too. And the rabbi and I told the mayor, I said, any event, I'm like, you've got a Christian event, we're there. You got a Jewish event, you're there. Let's get a Muslim event here. Let's get everything here, and we
Awesome.
are there.
So was
Let's
that
bring it all in.
is that the Aspen Chapel that was had Christmas carols and
We
all
ended
those?
up finding ourselves this day, this magical day of Christmas Eve. We ended up going to a cross country ski, which I'll mention in a minute. And then I said, hey, they're having a Christmas service, which is predominantly singing Christmas carols here at
Oh,
the church
oh,
tonight.
I want to do that. That's fun.
And but we'd have to go get some food first. Aspen is completely crazy insane right now with all the skiers. What do we do? And
Oh,
she's like, well, there's this one organic restaurant. It's on the main strip. And I said, all right, we're going to go eat there and we're going to go to the Christmas carols if it is complete and total flow. And Aspen was insane. And I pull up to the restaurant, and the space right in front of the front door was
nice.
full.
You're like, all right, I guess I'll go.
Total flow. Got the most amazing, not just organic, but nutritarian mushroom soup. Warmed my soul. Went to the Aspen Chapel, the perfect spot there. Went inside, said hi to Nicholas Veazey, who we've had on the show. We got to sit up at the very, very front, on the
Yeah.
floor, literally, but at the very, very front.
Wow.
It was wall to wall people, and we sang and we cried and we just had so much fun.
Oh, that is awesome. Wait, so what are your favorite Christmas carols to sing?
I think Silent Night really got me.
Is that the one you
And
start crying at?
I think we were just looking in each other's eyes and we were thinking about how will we have baby this time next year. And I think
Oh,
that was just on both of usually when we're around kids after you had a miscarriage or two, you love kids, but you want a little space because
yeah,
when you had seen them when you were pregnant, you're thinking, oh, we're gonna have, and then you don't.
yeah. Oh,
Uh, so there was Silent Night, and there was one other one which isn't coming to me right now, but it was just such a connection that the two of us had, and it was interesting. There's no ego involved, but we were put up at the very, 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 very front.
yeah.
And when I think of all the leadership things we're doing in coming years, it just felt like the light is shining on everybody there, and the light was shining on us as well. And
Nice.
it was really, really special.
Oh, sweet. That's a perfect Christmas Eve.
And they had a disco ball. I don't know of any other chapel. And Nicholas, as we're singing in carols, he comes up to me and he goes, "Have you ever seen?" and they put lights on the disco ball, and all these little silver twinkles are coming around.
Oh, I love that. Woo! That's awesome.
So cool.
Although I've just been told I just got my eyes examined, and it's like the most thorough eye examination I've ever had. And when she looked in my eye, I have a hole in my retina. So I kept on saying, I have a hole in my retina, dear Liza, dear
I,
Liza. Do you remember that song we'd sing
oh,
as a kid?
yes.
Hole in
One,
my retina, dear Liza, a hole. She said there's no, like, very, very small probability that my retina can get detached. But if she said, if I look and it's a sparkle ball of, like, little flecks,
oh.
I'll be like, oh, it's beautiful. Oh, my retina's getting detached. So sadly, when you gave that image of the sparkly ball, I just thought of my retina being detached and seeing a bunch of floaters all over my eye.
A couple decades ago, amazing professional runner from Japan. In fact, she won the Chicago Marathon. She was in a documentary about her healing and winning the Chicago Marathon years ago. And I remember texting her something. She was back in Japan, and I was like, I was out for a run, and I didn't have my glasses on, and I could just see the stars weren't stars. They were like these 3D images, and I'm talking all this woo-woo stuff. Well, it turns out it's astigmatism.
I'm having a spiritual moment. Oh, actually, I have astigmatism. Well, about you, so you know how they dilate your eyes, and my my kids who all look kind of they're Eurasians, so they already look like Pokemon kind of characters. Their eyes get like their pupils are so dilated, and you can kind of see with brown eyes. You have brown eyes too, but you're lighter color. You can't really see with my eyes, but my husband, who has light baby powder blue eyes, his pupils were. I swear there's like an eighth of an inch between his pupil and the color of his eye.
See,
And I
now
couldn't see
turn that into a
anything.
stuffed animal. You could sell a ton of them. You make the eyes extra big, and we just fall in love with them.
Exactly. I just kept on laughing each time I looked at him because his eyes were like, like just
I hope you
hugely
took
dilated.
photos.
I did, but you know, when someone's taking a picture of your eye and you want to see it, you kind of go like this, and then it makes it even more ridiculous. So
Uh-huh.
all the photos were just too awful to share. Okay, so you ended up finding a magical parking spot, flowing
Mhm.
into the Aspen Channel, and then cross country skiing. What's that?
Well, this is a time of massive change in a positive way. So maybe that's not even the right word, but that's why I want to share today. Massive change for Jessica and myself, I believe for you as well.
Yeah.
And so we're on the parallel path again. That this you're going changes, and that's the show today.
Yeah, exactly.
uh, in that we're getting to embrace the chaos, embrace the difficulty, embrace all of it. And so she hasn't really enjoyed cross country skiing yet with these skate skis, and was looking at getting into another kind of skiing or another what do you call it, classic versus skate skiing. But we went out this last time, and she's a magical being who will catch a word or two off of a YouTube video that's instructional, and then she can embody it. The rest of us, mere mortals, we have to practice it. She
Yes.
embodies it.
Wow.
And so she went from not being able to keep up with me to dropping me and flowing around this cross country course like I've never seen before. It was so beautiful to watch, and embracing this switch from I don't like this, there's no flow, to I will embody it, breathe into it, allow into it, and all of a sudden it looks effortless.
Wow.
And
Yay. Jessica's really gone through huge transformations this year.
unbelievably so. The to go from well, if we go flow back a year and 2 months ago, she was pregnant. 2 days, I think, or so before Thanksgiving, we find out she's not pregnant. She goes to a beautiful Dr. Joe event with a dear, dear friend of ours, Carla, and she's semi back on fire. Carla passes away 2 years ago. Jessica's down. A few weeks later, we find out she's pregnant again, and 3 months after that, she's had another miscarriage.
Mm,
And then she went down. Not depressed down, but you've got to get under the tree, you got to get down to the roots, you got to get under the bed, and draw the light inward for a bit and crank it maybe in reverse, crank it inward. So when people think I'm not shining bright, you may actually just be turning that light inward towards
mm,
yourself to
mm,
heal.
mm.
And it has been a massive healing process, and she is tremendously on fire right now. We're putting together so many different things with her spearheading a lot of them. Me wanting to be the provider and take any burden I can away from her. but she's understanding what pieces we get to put in place now for babyhood in 2020 and is embracing this like I've never seen her embrace change before.
Mm. What was the impetus to kind of drive all this foundational change from her perspective? Like, so, and how does it relate to baby?
So the question that I was asking her a lot, and forgive me if I said this last week, that I've been asking her, and I stopped after the summer, but I would be saying in my mind, and then occasionally I would say out loud to her, "What would we do if you could no longer work on the show? What would we do if you were sick? What would we do if you're injured?" She's like, "Oh, don't say that." I'm like,
Right,
let's just look at it from a reality point of view. I come home and find that I have to do this all myself. What
right,
would we do?
right.
And we weren't embodying that until the switch went off with her toward the end of the summer. And I say with her, because with the amount of work that I do, my limiting his belief has been that it's going to need her spearheading it. She switched at the same time I went into get her done mode, which you've seen this fall, where I'm like, I don't care if I have to get up early. I don't have to care if
Right.
I get up, go to
I've
bed late,
definitely
or
seen that.
I complain. But we will find a way. And the two of us spearheaded the get her out of the work,
Mm,
which has, when we get stuck in our paradigm, as I think I said last week, the is as it is, we run the very real danger of falling back rather than keeping up.
hmm.
Not in a race, but instead of flowing with water, it's getting submerged by the water.
Right, right.
And so believing that we couldn't do it when we can only do it if we can only do it when,
Hmm.
I think we were kind of drowning in that.
Mm,
When we said there has to be a different way and we started to look for different ways to pull Jessica back, things got better.
mm.
In other words, the business is doing better. Our YouTube, all of these things are in many ways doing better than ever. And we'll talk about YouTube because we have some angry fans that we want to send a lot of love to right now. But lots of positive changes have come by putting new, challenging, and difficult constraints on
Mm,
things.
mm,
Constraints are magical. You don't have, quote, enough money, that might be the greatest gift in the world. You don't have, quote, enough time, that may be the most awesome steering. Our constraints needing to get Jessica out if we're going into babyhood again, because there is no way I want her to get pregnant and then us to lose the baby and for there to be any question in anybody's mind if that were to happen that she had been working too hard.
yeah,
If it's
yes.
to be, it's to be one way or the other, but we're not going to have that.
Was there a concern that maybe that was what happened with the two other miscarriages?
Less, less so from hindsight and more did not have the chi. She did
Yeah.
not, from sick with mold from years ago, from whatever took place, but certainly the stress of the business did not help.
Mm,
The work that had to be done didn't help. So now we want to stack the deck as much as we can, not that we're in charge, it's universe, in our favor so we can sleep at night knowing it's totally God's hands rather than why is she still working? Why is she still producing the show?
mm.
No.
You know, I
I
ran
want
into a woman last year who said we were talking in Hawaii, and she said that what she does, she's from Berkeley, she talks to babies that are in utero. So, like, they're in their mom's tummy, and she talks to them, and she kind of coaches them through, so to speak, what their concerns are with being born. And she had said, what she finds with people who have miscarriages is that the baby looks and says, they're not ready. Like,
yeah.
until there's a scenario where I feel like I can come and be safe and, like, the baby will miscarry. And I thought, well, that's so interesting that, it could be that in utero, your baby's like, yep, build the foundation so that, you have the more chi or whatever. And so now you're kind of structuring everything. I had an intuitive sense that that was what was going on, but I never really had asked you. And so now,
It's interesting. I think I spoke about last week. She's making baby blankets
mm-hmm,
and sewing things, and then she started about a month ago from a dear friend who's also an Inspire Nation trained coach. She started and a Chinese medicine doctor, medical doctor. She started taking and this is a shameless plug for Dr. Elisa Wampole if you're out in Las Vegas. With that said, Jessica started taking beef broth. and saying it's supposed to thicken the uterine lining. But what
Mm.
she calls it is, I'm making a better cushion for my baby to sleep on.
Oh,
That
sweet.
fine tuning of language, I'm making a better cushion, I
Mm-hmm.
think is exactly the thing of a how much can I nurture and make my baby feel welcome even before baby is ready to get is
Yeah.
completed those 9 months. I think that's a big, big shift.
Yeah. Yeah. That's huge. So those are tons. It's like it's kind of a it's there's lots of framework like it's not only the foundational changes, the changes happened initially through your mindset, right? Like I can't why do I have this thought that I'm going to keep on waiting? I'm going to keep on waiting. And then if this happens, then this will happen. It's funny because I had right before I was working with a group, and they were really busy because they had a huge project, so they couldn't meet me until maybe the week before my kids came home. And I worked like crazy that week. I was putting in a ton of hours. And at the end, they're like, "Here's what we'd like you to do," and I'm like, I only have one day to like put this together. And then I didn't like, and I thought, oh my gosh, I don't want to do work during Christmas. And I also don't want to even do this work on that one day because it's still, my kids are still home and I don't want to do that. And I thought, and every morning I've been waking up with this thing like weighing over me. And this morning I woke up and I thought, okay, my head was just spinning around with like, this and that with this with the kids, old patterns kind of like you worry about the kids and you wonder about the kids and they say
Yeah.
something and you think about it and you wonder and, all this kind of stuff. And this morning, that's one of the changes. This morning, I just did this Buddhist meditation where you think of like a bright blue sky, and I think I told you the mountains and the Buddha sitting on top. And I was just sending the whole house love, and may I be filled with love, may I be filled with peace. May it's like a meditation in Buddhism. And I stopped and I thought, you know what? I don't need to do anything. Like if I just, they've given me the script. The main thing I need to do at this point, I've done a ton of back work, but there's a
Yeah.
perfectionist me that wants to be extremely thorough, extremely perfect. And I thought, I don't need to. Like, all I need to do is go in there and be completely present. I don't need to do a lot of prep work. I
Yeah.
just have to go in and be present. And that's all that needs to be done. And like after that, there's just huge burden left. But it was just like a mindset shift, right? Because every morning I'd been waking up like, oh my God, this thing, when am I going to do it? Maybe I'll do it today. Do I have a couple hours to do it? But just kind of like, I don't have to do anything. All I have to do, I will get more out of I will deliver more value, so to speak, if I just and completely present when we're talking
Yeah.
about the one or two issues that they've already outlined for me. And it will save them money because I don't have to charge them for all the money that I spend planning and
Yeah.
organizing and trying to create this perfect presentation, which they haven't even asked me to do. But I feel driven to do it. And I was like, nope, I'm not doing it. The day off, I'm
That's
going to look at it in the
huge.
morning and I'm just going to like do it that morning. And it's not, maybe not perfect, but I will just be as present as I can be.
How does that feel? Because literally this is going against your past, every past wiring that
Yeah.
made up CJ Lou. How does this feel?
Um, it feels right. Like it feels like, and the weird thing is, it feels like the most logical thing to do. I'm facilitating, so all you're doing facilitating is like being present, right? That's the only thing that you are being paid to do is being present, keeping looking at the clock, making sure things are flowing, and that's it. Like that's and I've already met with all of the team. I've got a sense of what their main issues are. They've told me there are three issues that they want. I'm like, and I remember what's happening. And if I don't, it doesn't matter if I don't remember. Whatever will happen at that moment is exactly what has to happen at that moment. So, yeah.
Woohoo!
So that's a huge change, like a mindset shift, right? It's like, no, my priority is these kids. I don't get to see them that much. Both of them came back from college last Friday, Saturday. My youngest came back on Thursday. My eldest came back on Saturday. So I'm treasuring every moment with them. And we've had so much fun together. It's just, the house is full. Like, literally, the house is full. I'm going to go to the recording studio. It's like, well, I was going to use that space to do, it's like, it's that
Yeah.
full. But yeah, it's really exciting. Exciting to have those changes and hard, right? Because you just have to get used to them.
And it's a matter of priorities. I'm going to segue into kind of our Christmas day here. We woke
Yeah.
up Christmas morning, and my editor was contacting me
On Christmas
uh,
morning?
on Christmas morning because doing all these changes and new shows, and I tried to get him to stop on some of this stuff, and because he was going in his time zone to like 3:30 in the morning because it's candy to him right now. What we're creating is candy. He's in the creative flow. He doesn't want to stop, and that became contagious for me. And here I am Christmas Day trying out different microphone setups, different camera setups, and Jessica's like, where'd my hobie go? And most of Christmas evaporated with trying out new stuff before I'm like, whoa, wait,
High
what's
tech
going on
stuff,
here?
like new, you got like a bunch of new equipment for Christmas.
New old stuff, a lot of repurposed equipment that we had that we weren't using in these configurations.
Ah.
So I'm using a magnificent older HD video cam that will now be our webcam, which has a much bigger lens and brings in a lot more light and a lot more richness to it
Mm.
than a webcam. And we're trying to figure out how do all these puzzle pieces fit together? What do we need to buy? What don't we need to buy? And it was very exciting, but I was losing Christmas to setting up this stuff. And Jesse's like, "Are you having fun?" And at the beginning, I was like, "Not sure." And then later on, I'm like, "Actually, it does feel like Christmas when I was a kid, and you want to put something together."
Yeah.
But priority, I didn't take most of the day with Jessica and I as a couple. And so, like you saying, wait, I only have so much time with the kids. We ended up having another Christmas day, the day after Christmas, where I'm like, no, we're not going to do that. Now at night, I had to do an upload and stuff, but I guarded the majority of the day as a, we're going to relive Christmas Day. I goofed. I got a little bit too excited because it's a new toy again. Inspire
Yes.
Nation is new to me again.
Yeah.
When you go in changes, all of a sudden the switch flips and you go from, well, this is the same old, to all of a sudden you feel self-agency and ability to change and you're all excited.
Yeah.
But I had to remember priority is the pookie.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so,
It's
so we got
easy
a
to
second
do.
Christmas day.
I had a similar kind of thing where I said, "What do you guys want for Christmas morning?" I mean, it's weird because in Seattle, you can walk to Starbucks and it will be open on Christmas Day. There's a Starbucks that's located in a very popular walk on Green Lake where we live. So we walked over to Starbucks. You can get food, coffee, like anything you want to eat. But there's this mindset that I think there's not going to be any food, so I need to go to Whole Foods for that one day and like get food.
That's why
Uh,
the shelves in the supermarkets the day before and the day after are completely stripped
it is.
bare.
It's just like a
This
mind. I
panic
don't.
mentality.
I don't. The same thing happens on Thanksgiving, and that Starbucks is open on Thanksgiving. And then so I went and I thought, well, I have to go make breakfast. And so on Christmas Eve, I think I cooked from I don't know, from like 2 until 6. I was just like cooking biscuits and I cooked quiche and then I cooked mac and cheese. Like the boys are like, what? I'm like, here are some things I could cook that I knew
This
you
is what
used to
Jessica
like.
was doing. Maybe it was she was plugged into the field
Yeah.
because she's like making pies and brownies, and I'm like, there's only so much I can eat. And she's like, well, you're supposed to put on pounds for the holiday. I'm like, what? But there were so many courses, and there's only me.
There's something I was like, it kind of drives you in this impulsive way. And at the same time, I loved in the past, I would have like cooked and been like neurotic and cooking and stressed in each of these items. And I kept on like stirring in love. And I was watching as my two boys who were talking and they were like interacting in new ways. Like each of them has changed so much. And they were talking about creating a profile, a dating profile. So they were talking about their dating profiles and they were laughing and they were just and they were like, and I was like, well, I think what women like are, so we have all this thing about like, how do you capture a woman's attention? So I'm cooking, but I'm really hanging out with them. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm really hanging out with them and I'm finding a reason to be around them. So
Yeah,
it
no,
was a
I
complete,
gotta interject. Please,
yeah,
please forgive me.
yes.
But I want to know how you if you passed the mom test or not, or where you fall on the mom spectrum.
Yeah.
Were were they wanting your opinion on attracting girls and dating websites?
Um, some of it, like I was like, I just said, I know this is kind of a game, and so you have to pick pictures where you look kind of like rough and tumble. Like women don't want pictures of you, and not looking that way. So there's a picture of Caden when or my son, he's in the Yukon and he is like in the snow in the Yukon with a dog sled. I'm like, okay, that's the one. So I basically created the visual.
Oh my God.
I created because
It's so wrong and right.
it is so wrong and right. So so I basically looked at
As
every
long as they
single
never
photo.
tell anybody, Mom is the one who picked my
Yeah, no, I
profile.
basically looked at like 2 years of photos because when he's younger, he doesn't look like himself anymore. So I created like a whole Google photo arrangement and then I pulled photos from my husband, myself, and like stuff from his trips. And I'm like, okay, here's from a woman's perspective the things that I think are the most attractive photos of you. Then my then my eldest son, who's really good at Adobe Photoshop, then like cropped and edited all of these and adjusted the lighting so that it was like really like his profile, my youngest son's profile is so good. Very, very good because it was like it took a village, like all of us sat and
Oh my God.
organized. So in between like stirring, I'd be like, hold on, let me look at photos. And then I'd look and I was like, and then I would look at the photos that my youngest son would pick and then I would explain why those photos weren't as good as the other ones and from visual messaging, branding. And then I guess in some of these sites you have to create like a one-liner that is supposed to be witty,
Okay.
eye-catching, whatever, so that people decide to swipe right on you. So we were like, okay, how about this as a one-liner? It's like, no, but that's not authentic, and it's like, well, how about this one? So we sat there and like there's a whole marketing campaign going on during
I
Christmas
like
Eve.
it.
It was so much fun. So it was a different way. Like I was hanging out with them, but I was cooking, so to speak, but I was really there to hang out with them. And it was both of them have changed so, so much. And it's just so cool to see. And you think, I wonder if I'm changing. I don't really know. But I did talk to the boys. I said, Dad and I've told them all the stuff like that had happened. I'm like, Dad and I have gone through a lot of changes because, we're going through a 3v1 versus a 1v1. And I just like, and I think I had talked to you last week about how I realized that I was like always making the sacrifices
Mhm.
in this new 1v1 configuration and how that was so hard. And I started talking to the boys about that. So I'm like, so those are the kind of things that you're going to see changing on our end. Like you may not know what's happening, but this is what's happening on our end. And as I was saying it, I just started crying. And it was just like,
Oh,
yeah, it's like, because I realized I'm like, God, I hope I haven't, because what happens is what I realize is that as a parent, you're always role modeling what it should be to be an adult. And so here I've role modeled that you're supposed to sacrifice yourself in all these particular ways. And I have my eldest son does the same thing. And I was like, oh my gosh, no, please, no, stop. You got this for me. I'm like, I wish I could get rid of it, but I'm just telling you, like, just realize that you never want to sacrifice yourself because what happens is you sacrifice yourself to the point that it affects you at a soul level. Like at some
mhm.
soul level, you're not authentically showing up who you really are, and that is the greatest shame of all. So it's like making sure that that person shows up is so critical. And that was what I was saying, and I was just crying as I was saying it over because I'm like, because I'm a coach, I'm supposed to be doing this for other people. And like I would say that in terms of authenticity, like most people say I'm like one of the most authentic people that they know. So I'm like I'm pretty far along the spectrum, but it's still there's still pieces of you that you've left behind, like even
Mhm.
at this age and even at this time and even with the occupation that I have, there are pieces of you that you leave behind or certain behaviors that are just so like constantly sacrificing yourself. They're so damaging because underlying each of those beliefs is the belief like I don't matter. Other people, right? Why do you
Yeah.
sacrifice except for I don't matter? The way that I can give value is by sacrificing myself. Like how messed up is that, right? So for me, like I look at it and go, that's so wrong in so many ways. Like I don't want to believe that myself and I don't want other people to ever believe that. So it's just like just kind of coming to grips with all that is just so heart wrenching, I think.
all here for your highest good as your greatest teacher, as your greatest steering, so that today, at the end of 2019, you could be sharing. I almost said 2020, I fast forwarded a year, so that you could be sharing this.
Hmm.
It's easy to make that as a cliche that comes out of a fortune cookie, but it's true.
Yeah.
Is that all of that was a setup from the universe to get you to where you're going. Put on your oxygen mask if you're listening to this. Stop it. And if you are listening to this, stop it. Put on the oxygen mask on yourself first.
I know. I think I telling you last week that someone was saying like, yeah, on your spiritual journey, what happened? I was telling you that like the more you go on this journey, the more sensitive you become, and the more you end up taking on other stuff. And it is like another. It's like a ramp up of how much love, and how much presence, and how much fortitude and vigilance you can have during these times. It's hard
So that'll segue
for
perfectly
your
with
angry fans.
angry fans.
Okay.
And it's trying to not be in a panic right now. We've been changing up a lot of our YouTube stuff as
Yeah.
you've seen on our YouTube, youtube.com/Inspire Nation show, I believe is what it is. But
Yeah.
you can just type in Inspire Nation on YouTube. And you saw we've been making a lot more cinematic,
Yeah.
short interviews, which I am absolutely loving. And we made one long one so far. I think two, but one's released or something like that.
Hmm.
No. I guess we did release two, Dr. Michael Lennox and James F. Twyman. And our core audience on YouTube is hopping up and down mad.
Oh, that you
They
trade
are
shit?
they are not liking at least the long interviews. They are feeling that they lose some of the ebb and flow, they lose some of the personal manner, they lose some of me interacting directly with the guest, and they're saying go back to the old, which
Wait,
this
even
fine
though they
tuning.
weren't listening to the full 50 minutes.
Yes, this is true, and I have pointed that out because I've commented, I've shared with each one of our audience members who or listeners who is shared on YouTube, and with the fact that we're changing on iTunes, we're changing on YouTube. Please send us your comment. Put them in YouTube. Put them in
Mm-hmm.
iTunes. Write us at heck, personally write me, Michael at inspirenationshow.com, and
Mm-hmm.
and let me know your thoughts. I want to hear from you. Um, but people were taking it very personally, like we had taken away their candy or something, and they're like, "Give
Oh.
it back."
Mm.
It's a fine-tuning process. It is maybe we went too far, maybe we need to pull back. We're going to keep all these short little interview pieces, which give people a key lesson in 5 or 6 minutes. I love these things, but we're going to go back more traditional of a regular interview, but tighten things up and make it easier for the people to follow, but it's a learning. Now,
Wait, so does that
we
mean
have,
you're gonna so that you'll keep the flow, but you're going to just tighten up some of the? How are you going to tighten it up and still keep the flow?
if there are pieces of the conversation that are way off and right or left
Ah,
field,
okay, got it.
we're going to cut that out because our audience, the maximum average that people will watch a YouTube show is 23 minutes and 50 seconds. That's the max that we've seen. So if we have interviews that are well over an hour, the average person is not getting there. And we don't want to exclude anybody, but let's see if we can make it a little shorter. Because here's what happens on iTunes or YouTube, excuse me, is most people don't watch based on what they type in the search engine. They'll type in search engine inspiration and they get a show, or Dr. Joe Dispenza and they get a show. After they finish that, it'll say on the side suggested videos.
Mm-hmm.
That's how people go into the YouTube swimming pool, is they get suggested video and suggested video and suggested video. Suggested videos are based on an algorithm, of which a huge part of that algorithm is what percentage of a video was watched.
I see.
If 23 minutes and 50 seconds of an hour plus long video is watched, it gets buried
Wow.
and nobody relatively finds it. So if we
Interesting.
want to do the most good, we need to find that sweet spot where people get as much content as they desire, and yet they will hang in there. The bell curve will hang in there. and make it past a certain point so it gets digested. If not, it's the most perfect interview for the 10 people who can find it,
Right.
but nobody else gets to see it.
So yeah, so have the 100,000 people on your YouTube, like how many people, how many angry guests or angry listeners are you talking about?
It's interesting because I was thinking back to a Today Show thing a few years ago where if one person wrote in a letter of complaint, they estimated that it was 100,000 people that it was representing.
Oh wow.
So I don't know how many one person represents, but on one of our videos, we have probably 27, 28 comments from our listeners, and probably six, seven, eight of those are angry. One person even said, I won't watch your show anymore.
Oh
And we send her all the love in the world. There's nothing we can really do about that.
yeah.
Coming back to scary change, the knee-jerk reaction of you and I is to please.
Right.
The knee-jerk reaction is to try to get things as quickly as possible back to the way they were. Sorry, sorry, sorry. But we've cut the rope to the shore. We're out in the middle of deep waters. We get to, bring in assistance, ask for guidance, speak with those people who are concerned, and send them all the love in the world that we possibly can. But at the same time, we can't go back.
But can they listen to an MP3 on iTunes for with the longer
Yes,
version? Okay, so if
absolutely.
you like the longer version, you can actually listen to it on MP3, but you can't get a YouTube video of it anymore.
Yeah,
Okay, because if there,
exactly.
I can see like if I'm walking my dog, I want to hear. I'm happy to sit and because I'm walking with you for an hour
Big
with my
difference.
dog, so like I'm fine with that. But on the YouTube, like it's I can't I can't even watch YouTubes, for longer than that. So
TED Talks went from 17 minutes or something like that down to 12. They
mhm,
had to cut it back based on what the audience is looking for.
right,
So it means that we get to, when we're looking at great change that we get to make, first off, we need to go to ourselves. This is the oxygen mask on ourselves. We have to listen to our own hearts. Certainly not ignore other people, but listen to our own hearts first and foremost. But then we have to stay true to our authentic selves, true to our authentic vision. Our vision is, I'm calling it 2 for 2020. Forget about reaching a million in 2020. I've got the team now. Why can't I reach 2 million in 2020?
hmm
The more people that I can reach, the more that when we reach a critical mass can help change this planet.
hmm
If I'm making the most superior quality product in the world, but nobody can find it, then I gain 2 subscribers. And I'm not doing it about the, oh, I've got 100,000 or whatever. It's not about the ego. It's about how many people can we reach.
right.
And so I have to stay true to that at the same time that it's very visceral. The nervous system wants to freak out. It wants to panic and wants to tell people, we're going to change it all today. Instead, I'm going to do my best to go back, but there is no going 100% back.
Yeah.
We're going to have to all go through this together. I'm going to share. We're going to grow. We're going to communicate. I'm going to become the best communicator with my fans that anybody could possibly be in the world. And then I have to breathe into it and continue to step forward.
Well,
So that's
yeah, it seems like
changes.
they'll have, if you want long format, it's available. If you want medium format with all the highlights, it's available. If you want 5 minutes, it's available. To me, it seems like you're giving more options. And so I can listen to the 5 minute and decide whether I want to listen to the 30 minute. And then if I really like it, then listen to the hour. If you kind of don't want that, because I can understand that because this is a conversation. So there's a conversational flow. So if all of a sudden it's cut up in different pieces, then you're editing it and I'm no longer with you anymore. I'm getting the edited version, which is from your opinion, cutting out the
And
pieces
we're
that you
editing
believe are
actually
important.
most of me out.
What?
That was the interesting thing is the early ones were cutting me out. The guest was having almost their full say, but me
Right.
asking the questions was being taken out. And people are very thankful. They're very loyal to me. Don't worry, we're going to keep me in there. But you're right, it
It
changes.
changes the format because I want to see you. Like your energy is there and presence. And like when you're out, it's like, wait, I could have watched that guy, but I wanted to see Michael interviewing. That there's a energetic play between two people that may be taken out if you. But if you want to do that, then you can listen to it on MP3, right? So it's,
So
or you can just, I don't know, have. But you're saying that yeah, that's a hard thing. I think that the you're listening intently to the feedback you're trying to deliver as much as you can while at the same time honoring your mission, your personal mission, which if only two people see your show, you're not honoring your personal mission. So it's a
Bingo.
hard
And
thing.
so it comes back to the crux today, which is change is, I'm not labeling it good or bad. I only believe in good or better, but it appears ugly. It appears chaotic. It appears that you're going down. You're going, oh my God, what's going on? This is like panic. Let's get the fire extinguishers out. It's part of the process. Once you've cut free from shore, you don't know where that river is going to take you. The best that you can do is surrender into it. And you can try to paddle toward one side or the other over time, but you have to let it carry you. And so we often take that one step forward. I mean, that's why coaching clients come to you. I'm sure I know that's why they come to me, is they take a step forward, they pull out the pistola and shoot themselves in the foot to jump back to the safe shore
Mm,
and say, no, 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 not ready. On the subconscious level, where we get to put ourselves out there and go, wow, this isn't what I expected. This isn't as comfortable as I expected. I want to kumbaya. This is really scary. Breathe into it and step forward again.
yeah. It's hard, and I think it's having that conviction of this is what I'm supposed to do. Not everyone. I think if you hear a lot of movie stars are like, not everyone is like. There's always going to be haters, always,
Yeah,
and there's nothing you can really do about
love
that
them.
without hurting yourself. So it's like it's a very very hard, just like even when people go through spiritual transformation, like my mom's like, you've changed. And at first I was like, oh my gosh, I've changed. And she's like, you're not who you used to be. And the implication, if it was to follow up, it would be like, and I don't like it, is kind
Yeah.
of the next part. And that happens all the time you go through change. And you can either, first of all, I can't change back to that other person. I worked so hard to be the person that I am, so you can't really change back. Just like, oh yeah, I was going down the spiritual path. Oh, I'm more sensitive. Oh well, like guess I'm gonna have to get
Yeah.
used to this. It's hard, anytime you make change, it is really, really hard because there are going to be people who aren't used to the new you, and they may reject the new you. And and at the same time you've got to do you anyways. I mean, so hard because if you don't do you, then what are you doing? You're doing some other version of what someone wants you to be. And then really, who are you, right?
If you try to please everybody and you don't please yourself, then are you you?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think, I think that you can be, you can, in pleasing other people, you can learn and grow. But
Mhm.
then at the same time, it affects you at a soul level. I mean, that's the same kind of conversation that I was having with
Bingo.
making sacrifices. You make so many sacrifices that at one point you actually sacrifice yourself, like your soul self. And so, like the deepest part of yourself, that I think that trade off, I think, is never worth it. Like, that's what I met someone in when I was on the Camino. He said, and I was like, I've just sacrificed myself for my kids and all these things. And he's like, and I sacrificed aspects of my personality. And I think I told you about this a long time ago, but he had said, well, sometimes it is said that people are born to parents because they are exactly the right parents that they're supposed to be born to so that they can learn and grow the way that they need to learn and grow. So when you sacrifice yourself, and don't show, all of you doesn't show up, it's like you've broken some covenant that you have with the world, right? Like this is like you, Michael, are uniquely
Mhm.
positioned, or you, CJ, are uniquely positioned with a set of characteristic skills and life
Yeah.
experiences to bring exactly the thing that you're bringing. And if you aren't, then you've kind of broken some type of covenant, some type of deep gift that you're given. That's how I see it. I don't know if you see it in the same way, but that's how I see it. And that's why it's also really hard when I'm not being my authentic self. Then it's like, oh, that really hurts even more.
It's a discussion that I've had with myself a lot. And so the one added piece when we go into addendum land like we used to do is that I am truly a believer that we both do have an ability, wiggle room on our journey. We have choices we get to make, yes or no, and things of this sort. But there is a path that's laid out before us, and universe to me is or this Earth school is a giant cosmic setup. You were set up to play the role the way you did, thinking you were making the decisions for everybody involved to the best of your ability. And I believe that was set up and conspiring for you, and conspiring for your kids. So I wouldn't say that you dishonored the gift, so to speak. You did absolutely exactly what you were supposed to, given the skill sets, given the experiences, given everything that you had. Now you have different experiences, different experiences, different tools, more wisdom, and you're saying, I'm making a great change.
Mm-hmm.
That is as powerful for your kids as any other lesson. And doesn't mean that, well, why didn't I do it earlier? Or why I should have, or you called it, I think you actually used the word shame a few minutes ago, maybe about 10 or 20 minutes ago.
Mm-hmm.
But what if you were set up
Yeah, no, there's a part, like I woke up this
specifically?
morning that I thought, well, maybe that was part of the gift that you're going to give your eldest son is to
Yes.
sacrifice yourself because that is part of your karma and his karma too. So now he can see you go through the changes of what you need to do to get unbound from this karmic setting that you have. So, I mean, I think it can be viewed lots of different ways. I'm just talking about the meta picture, right? I mean, if you're given, I don't, this is just very strongly what I believe, and not
Yeah.
everyone believes this. I totally get this, but I
I'm
believe
just
you're
I'm
given
just
gifts.
coming from a very protective of CJ place.
Oh no, no,
So
I
forgive
get
me.
that. No, no, I
I
mean, but my general rule at the highest level is like we all have these gifts, and so my coaching is about helping people find those gifts and unlock them. It's like, it's like the ultimate game. It's like what are those jewels that are hidden there? Let's unbury them. Let's discover them. And then let's like enjoy in the pleasure that those gifts have because they're part of the gifts that you are to give to the world and we need it, right? So part of what we need is more Michael out there, right? So, you cannot hide behind a video, nor can you actually edit yourself out of the video.
there was an irony there. I'm watching these videos going, these are beautiful, but I'm not seeing me. And it's not from an egoic point of view.
No,
It's
of
it's
course.
what is the most Machiavellian, what does the job, and if people are connected with my heart and I have some special gifts that I can give to the world, then editing myself out probably isn't of the
Well,
highest
because
good.
the container of which that interview took place is gone.
Yeah.
And so that your energy and container is something like you don't realize how much it actually influences everything, right? Like when we are on this interview, we're like holding, like you're holding the CJ container, like CJ, we just here before you go down that path, shameful path. Let me like hold this container of love
Yes.
to like, and I'm actually like, oh, Michael, before you go down the path of like, losing your own authentic self for this, for like legitimate feedback that you get. Here's another way of seeing things, right? I mean, so I think when you edit those things out, you're editing a part of yourself that it's inexplicable,
Mhm.
but it's still there, right? So the editing takes out that piece probably in 5 minutes, but probably not in 30 minutes.
But I think you summarized what a lot of people are feeling.
Hmm.
And it's okay to have the 5 minutes to me on have that one sweet point that doesn't have to have much me. Let's get a Mitch Horowitz top 10 tips on this. Let's get a James Twyman of how you can awaken. That's awesome. But then let's have a full interview that does have my ebb and flow and insights and joyous childlike nature and my woohoo.
That's hard feedback, and you'll figure it out. I know if there's anyone to problem solve and figure this out and create the best outcome for everyone, it will be you.
Thank you. Woohoo. So we'll cover just one or two more things, then let's call it good. So
Yeah,
a couple
yeah.
weeks ago, a health concern. A couple weeks ago, we joked about having an air fryer that we got on Black
Yes.
Friday,
I know.
and
That was the first thing I asked you, Mike. I don't know why, Michael, but I was thinking about your air fryer. How is it going?
She the first day she made sweet potato fries,
Mm-hmm.
and then a couple days later she made apple cider donuts. And she
Mm.
swears to this day that she made 2 dozen donuts, which we both finished together in 3 days.
Oh
I
my
don't know
gosh.
what happened.
Were they
Organic
like mini
apple
whole
cider.
donuts or
No, they
but
weren't. They were actually very heavy. They had the consistency of kind of an Annie's pretzel.
oh my God.
Thankfully, I'm not wearing all of these donuts now. But
Wow.
with that said, there was a plastic smell that we got off of it from day number one, and we looked online, and it said that a lot of the air fryers have a plastic smell the first few times you use it, and then that smell goes away. It didn't go away, and I started doing my homework on it. And what I found on the forums, particularly with bird owners, is that these things kill birds. It
What? Well,
releases
how?
chemicals called, it releases chemicals from both the Teflon being heated up, and Teflon's not good inherently, and these other products, I think, from the plastics, and forgive me if I'm not a chemist and I get all this wrong,
Wait.
called BTFE,
Mm.
basically heating up plastics like BPA and stuff, puts these VOCs, volatile organic compounds, into the air
Oh my
and
gosh.
puts it into your food as well. And so you'll go on forums and find out about like parrot owners having their parrots. One person wrote in 3 out of her 4 parrots passed away within the first hour of using her. And it's really, really sad. And here we are trying to get pregnant. And we had brought in a heater or two where I saw on the side, California says, Proposition 65, this may cause cancer. And here I am with this air fryer that's smelling like melting plastic, and so it's going back. We got our last use out of it with some broccoli tater tots, which are amazing. As I was Googling like crazy and staying up late, going, something's not right here. It was just pulling at me. And we're going to try to find one that is ceramic coated instead of Teflon. They have it, but also that has a lot less plastic and no BTFEs, if I get that word right.
Wow.
We got to trust our intuition with this stuff. If something smells wrong, if something feels wrong,
Gosh, I have the
I think
T-fowl. Is that one of them, or do they have T-fowls that have the BTF wet free?
my guess from my research, I can't speak to your brand, is there are only a very, very small few select handful
Oh wow.
that are safe.
Wow.
So this was quite the learning, and with us in mamahood, future mamahood mode, I'm like, done.
You're out of here. I feel like tossing
R2D2 is
mine
going
now.
home.
Wow. We saw Star Wars, by the way. So good.
Yeah,
Not everyone's a big fan, but we did see Star Wars that are coming out. Did you know that
I
Star Wars, the last version, is out?
Jessica asked me just yesterday. I said, "Yeah, I think there is a new Star Wars." So, I mean, I grew up with Star Wars wallpaper, with everything Star Wars you possibly could. But somewhere along the line, and this isn't to say that I don't occasionally watch a movie that has some violence in it. Somewhere along the line, the word wars stuck in my
Oh.
head, and I became unable to watch them anymore.
Oh.
Now, I am somebody that if somebody dies in a movie, I go into prayer, because to me, the
Wow.
energy is as real about them as it is you and me here. And Jessica thinks
Wow.
I'm insane for that, but I don't. And I believe that our subconscious is taking all of it in. So
Mm.
without judgment, there is maybe a little part of my inner child that wants to see how this whole thing played out. And Jessica may have dragged me kicking and screaming.
It's
In which
very
case, the
old
last two charge
school.
would,
It's old school. It's like all the same kind of like look and feel as the
yeah.
original one
Oh,
from your
I would see. I
childhood.
would love it. My inner child would absolutely love it.
Oh,
I just don't want to see any
violence.
more killing or hurting of anybody, even though it is all part of the arc of our existence, and we all came in incarnate to have. Why do these problems happen? Why do these fears happen? Well, our humanity is a fear-based species. Does it have to be that way? Who the heck knows? Probably not. But we came in with lizard-like wiring that has
Right.
a fight or a flight mechanism so that we could learn and experience it and expand consciousness, expand our love because of that. But do I need to put it in front of me? This is the question. And oh my God, did I love Star Wars?
Okay, now we'll just
I
have to
quote
see what
Jedi
happens
Knight.
this week.
There
I'm.
is no try. That was my worst Yoda impression. There is no try. Only two. Yeah.
That's my Woogie. Um,
Sorry, everybody.
all right. So, anything else that we need to cover, Michael, that we missed
Man,
off
we
your
are
list?
going to have the most amazing 2020. If you're awake, if you're aware, if you're even struggling, if you're struggling, it probably means you let go of the shore. And if you haven't let go of the shore, let go of the shore and party out in the deep end where it's scarier than heck, because that's where we're supposed to be. Come together as one, ask for help. Don't try to be a lone wolf. Don't try to do it all on your own. But man, there is a party waiting to be held if we will embrace the change, the same change that is scaring us. Scaring you is a fuel. That is a fuel that's powering you forward. So don't see it as a roadblock. See it as a fuel that you can transmute with alchemy truly into your greatest year, into your greatest decade, and into the gift of a life, as CJ was mentioning, that you were meant to live.
Like
Woohoo!
it. Woohoo!
How about you, CJ?
Um, I will say that I've gone through so much change in my life, and every single time I've come around the other side stronger, and I've learned and grown so much about myself and life, and had so many wonderful experiences, some of which have not been like fun experiences, but have been wonderful experiences. And I was just listening to a podcast today, and I think that sometimes that's really what we're here to do, to have experiences, pretty much. And so, experience life, experience 2020, um, get the most that you can out of life. I think that is about living life with no regrets, is to be open to change. So that's all I have to say.
My theme is ride it till the wheels fall off.
I'm right there with you.
Woohoo!
Woohoo!
Happy 2020, everyone, and happy roaring 20s ahead. For everyone out there, this is Michael Sandler and
CJ Lou from the Fired Up with CJ show.
say, be well, have fun, literally do, ride it till the wheels fall off, play, party, celebrate, shake in those boots, but have fun with this change to come, and above and beyond all else, shine bright.
Woohoo!
It means so much to me that you're listening to the show and would love your support in any way by giving me comments below or to subscribe to the show or share the show with friends. Thank you again for your support. Love and blessings.